You are listening to the Short Convos podcast. Live, Short Convos podcast. It's happening. Episode 6?
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Let's go for that.
Go on, introduce yourself.
How's the week been? As Miralai, we're going to come back to this in a second because I had thoughts on it. So introduce yourself and then come back to me.
Okay. I'm JC, Too Fast You, Warrior of Light, and Cashman. And this is our podcast. Two friends having a weekly chat about life and what we refer to as soul food. A bit of a conversation for the soul.
Yes, man. So welcome, guys. If you're listening and enjoying, then please, it helps us if you hit buttons. So hit like buttons, comment, share it, get it around. It just helps this reach more people because we'd like to keep this a consistent thing. So we just want to know that you guys are enjoying the content. I am As Miralai, and every week so far, we've been trying to figure out what my AKA would be. And then I came to a realization over this week. I already have an AKA, and it is As. Because As is not actually my real name. My real name is Asil, and it's spelt with an S, but if I shorten that, then I'd get Ass. So that wasn't going to happen. So we shortened it to As, and As has actually always been kind of a persona for who I wanted to be anyway, because Asil was always like my parents' name, and my parents had this thing about me being a doctor and going through schooling and all of this. And I really took on the As moniker, as in just basically, I'd prefer everyone just called me that from about 16 to 18 when I decided I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I just want to kick people for a living. So I think my AKA is already there. I think it's like Cher or Madonna, but As.
As, yeah, I like that.
Mononym. So there we go.
What are we talking about?
Well, what we're talking about, I guess, is identity, because that's what I wanted to start with, because we were talking last week about wearing different hats and all of that stuff. And I think what's interesting about this
I wanted you to ask me about my week.
Well, let's circle back to that.
let's talk about identity, and then you can ask me about my week, and we can make it like you're not actually, it's about the usual conversation. Identity.
So this was my question to you, because you've been asking most of the questions. I'll put one to you, because you were talking about all your hats that you put on. Of all of them, which one would you say is like the closest to your pure identity? Like in a world where there was no rules or anything about how you have to kind of present yourself and behave, which one of the hats is closest to who you naturally say you are?
You haven't seen it. Because it's a bit scary. And occasionally I look in the mirror and see it and I go, oh, shit. Occasionally my kids see it and they cry. And occasionally Lawrence sees it and goes, you fuck. No, really good question, actually. I don't know. Are we? Yeah, I suppose my response there is to like this week with the dojo. I've got a theme. I have a theme each week, and my theme this week is I can handle it. And I suppose that's my truest identity of who I am, without all the rules and regulate and everything else. And I suppose it goes back to a bit of my dad. It's even hard to put into words. He was an artist, and he had an easel, and above his easel he had written on one of the beams in his studio, I can handle it. And that was just like his mantra. I think he put it there because he'd be working long hours and it would be like, okay, look up here, I can do it. A lot of people misunderstood it because next to it he had some pin-up girls. So people used to think it was associated with that. Yeah, I suppose it's the family hat. That's who I am. You will see me as the most authentic self as the family hat. And being the provider, being the man, being of the house in a very, I suppose, traditional sense, the being the husband, the being all of those things. So I'd like to think they're ethical person. Okay, the hat. But I think there's also a part of me without rules and regulations that really, I only see a fragment of myself occasionally. I wonder if when we die and we pass on, that's really what we it's really quite hard to. Yeah, does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. The reason it all came up to me anyway was partly because we're doing this. And a big thing that people say when you're going to produce any kind of online content is you have to try to be authentic. And it's like, that's quite a difficult thing to do when because let's say you're trying to make a product or you're trying to package something, which we all do in whatever our business is or whatever your walk of life is. There's a level, obviously, of authenticity attached to it. But if, like you said, if you were just your pure authentic self, you'd probably scare 99% of people away. So it's like what is authentic when you then trying to balance it out with what is digestible for people without having to kind of tarnish and mess up who you really are.
Yeah.
That's just where I was pondering.
All right, I'll bat it back to you then. Okay, you don't like hats, so you're the mask. You're the Batman. Okay, which mask?
For me, it's probably, and this might be just because, again, I haven't had kids yet, but I'd say my most authentic is just when I'm alone with the wife. I think she sees the most real, uncensored version of me. And there's parts of it that everyone will see, like certain bits of my humor and certain bits of my kind of seriousness, but she will see the full spectrum. Whereas other people, you'll filter out certain lights because you just know in this situation that is probably not going to be appreciated, or not even that, but just not suitable for the occasion. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I find it sometimes awkward. I went through a stage of, well, like I said at the first one, I don't really like people anyway, but I went through a stage of being awkward with any kind of gathering, let alone weddings and all of that. But looking back, I was a bit of an arse even in family gatherings, just like Sunday lunch.
You mean antisocial? Or intentionally provocative?
Not intentionally. I wouldn't. No, it wouldn't be. It would be how it would be perceived by others. So
you'd notice you're annoying people, but not necessarily that was your intention.
Yeah, not even annoying. Like basically, I just didn't want to go in the first place. But I think looking back, it was a bit of a safety guard to myself because I lost so many family members in such a short period of time. And it was like right now, I don't want anyone to. I think everyone should suffer until we get our dojos back. It's like that's kind of my authentic self. It's like I don't want to go walk with someone in the park because I'm not allowed to have my dojo back yet. It's a bit of I don't know, a bit of a brat mentality, maybe. But when you're talking about authentic self, that's kind of what quite selfish. I can remember. Did we talk about homeopathy and things like that? We did, didn't we? Yeah,
I think we've brushed on it. Yeah. We've definitely spoke about it before.
Yeah, we talked about the things, and then it was negative traits. We were talking about that the other day, and someone was asking negative trait, and I said, "Oh, I'm really selfish." And this person turned around and said, "Well, actually, that can be a good trait as well, because it makes you achieve more and blah 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 blah." We're going into it, but yeah, I've gone through stages of being like that, So yeah. I don't even know how we got into talking about that, but hey.
That's the beauty of this, isn't it? Where does it go? How was your week?
Oh, my week? What are we talking about? My week, this week. This isn't scripted, it's just how we've started every week. So next week, we've got to start it differently then. Okay. Right. This week, I've had a really good, calm week, and I've had a really good clear out. And I've found at different stages in life, I was going to ask you your opinion and whether you've seen the same as well. At different stages in life, I've reinvented myself, sometimes intentionally. So I've cut my hair or I've done things aesthetically to walk into a new stage of life. It's like, right, that's right. And then there's other times where it's been forced upon you, and it's like, again, becoming a father is a great example. It's like you have to step up to the mark. I think I don't think there's a should you shouldn't. I think it's your response. That's the ultimate responsibility. You're stepping up to the mark. And what I found with this whole COVID, Corona, whatever you call it, situation, is it's been a bit of both. And I feel that it's been sitting there that I need to, all right, now change myself. And then I've made a decision to do it. And I have a very planned out week diary. I seem to function really well with that. At set times I'm doing set elements of business, or even down to making sure that there's duties around the house at certain times. I just function much better like that. And how many weeks? We're 10 weeks into it now, aren't we? This lockdown thing.
Yeah, coming to the end of week 9, I believe.
Yeah, so 10 weeks then, because we shut the dojo a week before. So where I've been changing the diary every week. So it's normally a Sunday, look at the week ahead and shuffle a few things around, just make sure we got the week planned. Laura and I are on the same page, and then it's like, you run full steam ahead. But what I've been doing is every week I've been coming to the week, deleting everything for the next week that we would usually be doing, like the usual classes, the usual everything. So I've got it all on repeat. And then I'll copy the week before into it, and then I'll then make adjustments on that. That's what I've been doing every week. I suppose I've been hanging on a little bit. When are we going to get back to that week? And it came to me the other day that week ain't going to happen again. That
Not
week,
for a very long time.
So yesterday I just deleted it all. I deleted the whole week.
How did that feel?
Yeah, it felt good. It felt like I've not cut my hair, I've not done anything aesthetically different, but I feel I've reinvented myself again. I've stepped into I suppose it's like a shed in a skin, the
cocoon,
You?
Yeah, I completely sympathize with what you're saying, that whole idea. And I think there's something in that maybe every 10 years or 7 years, life in itself is going to reinvent you. Like 20-year-old you is very different from 30-year-old you. And I'm sure if we look back on them, they almost look like a different person. You can remember being that person, but you're not that person now. You're something, you hopefully evolved, I guess, from what that was, just mostly through experience, like what you've been exposed to. So yeah, I completely sympathize with that, and very much so also with this whole thing that's going on, that at some point you just accept that. I don't like calling this the new normal, because then that makes me feel like this goes on forever, which I don't want to live the rest of my life in this lockdown situation. So I'm not going to call it the new normal, but it is the new standard for the time being. And I'm very much at peace with it at this stage. Like you said, I get a bit bratty. I go to the park and I see people playing football. I'm like, well, that's not isolating, is it? So you're not doing it properly. So can I open up my school, please, and go kick people in the face? So I got that as well. But yeah, I completely sympathize.
I think I've arrived at it and got from it a calmness. And I think the other week I was really struggling trying to be productive. I was really struggling with just doing anything, and it'd be like, you get to the end of the day and it's like, what do I do? That's a bloody waste of the day. And like, you'll be sitting there, it's like, I can't do it. But I've found a calmness from it now. It's like, okay, all right, I can't do that right now. Okay. And then, I've just found, it's going to lead me on to my next thing, actually, a real good balance to it all. And this is you're sort of talking about authentic self. I would say this is probably spiritually the most significant thing in one word I could sum up to myself is balance in life itself. And for instance, my mum and dad would always teach me, and from losing them at what is a relatively young age, even that scenario is they would always say, no matter how bad anything happens. And it was quite interesting. I've been watching The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan thing, and it was on the video yesterday when he was saying about some wisdom from his own father. He said the same thing. He said, no matter how bad any situation you have, you always take positive from it. And I suppose that's the ultimate summary of balance. But you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Well, I've recently did a little video that I made on dealing with adversity, and I read up on a few people who have dealt with like real bad times and then managed to kind of prosper and come through it. And one of the guys came up was Viktor Frankl, who was a Nazi prisoner. He went in all the concentration camps, so he got moved around from Auschwitz to all the other ones. And in front of his, like, basically in front of his own eyes, he watched his wife and his family get killed. He managed to survive all of that, came out the other end, and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's one of like the original kind of self-help books. And it's basically the story of how he got through all that shit of being in concentration camps. And what was the line that I got from it that I just loved? He said, when you are no longer able to change the world around you, you are forced to change yourself. And it was just a real powerful, very simple line. And that's exactly, I guess, where we're at with this. We cannot change things anymore. And anything we change is going to be minute in the grand scheme. So the only thing you can do is look inwards and make the change there. And then you come to peace, because the situation's not changed. You're still not going to your dojo, but you feel different than you did last week.
Yeah, very much so. Did you have anything else you wanted to bring to the table this week?
No, I like let's get on to the balance thing.
Yeah.
Where is in work-life balance? Is that what we're talking?
No, I mean life itself. Like I like just looking at everything at all. As Lauren's asking me where our middle daughter is, she's out cycling. Yeah. So just got to make sure the kids are accounted for. Use that. I'm going quite deep and meaningful here. It's like, for instance, we were talking to my brother, we were catching up with him on FaceTime yesterday. This isn't as deep and meaningful as it can go, but I'm just putting it there. And like my sister-in-law, she's like, oh, we've had 3 birds drop out the nest upstairs, out of the nest in the eaves of the house, and 2 of them died on impact. And like we've been trying to keep one going, and you know they're fully grown like little birds. What's a little bird called? Chicks. Like, you know, feathers and everything, and they've either fallen out or, you know, tried flying, couldn't or whatever. And she's like, oh, it's so sad, so sad. And my brother's like, well, the fox ain't hungry now, is it? And it's like, that's how I really am truly seeing things. And it's a bit harsh, but I think there is just I think the whole universe works on a complete balance in that. I think I remember reading somewhere, the theory is there's nothing ever lost, and i.e. there is nothing ever gained. So if you look at the entire existence of everything in our comprehension as a cake or, you know, something circular, there's never ever added more to it. There's never ever taken it. So even if our planet and everything in our solar system exploded and disappeared, it's never gone. I saw a documentary on they were looking for an elephant, one of the largest mammals on Earth, and they documented the documentary on this elephant when it passed. So they were looking for this natural death, and they found this elephant, and then they documented how the whole beast returned to the land, and how, you know, the maggots and the bird, and it was just a real good sort of way of seeing the balance to things.
Yeah, well, I like to always use when people kind of go on about things like veganism to me, and they say, you know, about it's cruel to kill and eat an animal, and I'll circle back to what you're saying here, but I always think a lion has never eaten a zebra and felt guilty about it. He's never been halfway through his meal and gone, oh, feel a bit bad about this zebra's babies that I've now taken away. And in the same sense that if you watched it on a documentary and you felt bad for the zebra, would you then feel bad if I showed you a video of starving lion cubs because they didn't get fed because mum didn't kill the zebra? So it's like, it's just life. Like life it's not fair, but in a way it's completely fair because it's not biased. It's not picking and choosing. Sometimes you're lucky and you get drawn good straws. Sometimes you're unlucky, you get a bad deck of cards. But it's not malice. The universe isn't being cruel to you. The universe is just being the universe, and you're just in it. You're just a part of it. So you're going to get the good, you're going to get the bad, and what we were saying earlier, it's how you deal with it. It's how you kind of come to peace with it. That's really what's going to make your life good or bad, not whether or not good things or bad things happen to you.
And like what I'm sort of getting with it and sort of bringing it to relativity is this week I've interacted or seen on Facebook or whatever it is, a few really wet people. Wet people. My dad also had another expression for similar but different, but like faceless pricks as well. And it's like I just think a lot of these people have no understanding of balance to themselves, to the balance of life or anything else, and it's like, yeah, just stay away. I don't want that kind of energy in my life.
Are these people who you'd say are struggling with what's going on in the world right now?
Yeah, and also people that are just taking, like faceless pricks, that are just taking absolute piss out of people opportunity wise, just because they got a bit of cash or just because they're in a position that they can. And yeah, you're just sort of looking at it, and I suppose, you know, it's a balancing act of it all. But everything I've seen, there's never been a black without a white. There's never been an on without an off. Even every single person that I've looked at from inspiration point of view of success, be it sport or whatever, they've always had something that I've not come across anyone. My brother's mate, who lives in America, and I can't, Harrison, he's the only person, but I don't know his full story about having only positive in his life. I don't know his full story. So there's other people I've explored and I've looked at them. I thought, nah, it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true. And it's like all the superstars. Have you seen those little Facebook things that go up about The Rock and about Keanu Reeves and about all of their backstories, Sylvester Stallone's one, and all of those? It's like, I think we live in, and it kind of leads me on to what I was going to go into next. We live in, I think people live in a real fantasy world at times. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's what's put out there, because you're kind of getting onto it there with the celebrities. You know, it's very easy to look at The Rock and be very jealous of his life. But if you go back and read his backstory and see how he got there, you actually think, well, actually, you deserve every little victory you get because you went out and earned every victory you got. And sure, some of it was down to luck and being in the right place at the right time. But then surely you create your own luck by putting in your part of the bargain, putting in your amount of the work. And a lot of people, all right, let's say you have had it just all good up to now. I'll use someone I know as an example, pretty good life up to now, and then just got struck with leukemia. Just, you know, and then maybe the second part of your life's going to have the unfairness. You know, it's not fair. They were just a nice person. They never did no wrong to anybody. Leukemia don't care. You know, life doesn't care. It's just life's gonna go on, and things are gonna happen, and you're gonna live through it, whether you're happy about it or not.
And then, so that led me on to, I wrote down real and fantasy, because this is something I wrote down. I write lots of notes down with the intention to write a book or do a post or whatever it is. And I wrote this one down a little while ago, real and fantasy. And I think there's nothing wrong with living in a bit of a fantasy world, be it gaming, be it movies, be it shows. Like Lauren, you know, watches some shows. Cece does as well. Like, for instance, what's the dating one? Love Island. It's like, I think it is the worst heap of crap shit on. I dislike everything about it. But I understand it's a bit of comfort telly. I understand that it's nothing more than a bit of entertainment. Or, you know, maybe we won't talk about that. But there's an element of, you know, fantasy to life, which isn't a problem. But it seems like a lot of people are living in more fantasy than real.
Yeah, I think it's escapism to a certain extent. And like you said, a bit of escapism is fine because we all have a bad day or a rough week, and you just want to escape into something where you can just switch your mind off. And that's going to be different for everyone. And if watching people prance around on a beach helps you switch your brain off for 1 hour and chill out, more power to you, right? It's fine. But some people, and I guess you see it more and more, like you said, these wet people, it's just they have to be in that constant because they really can't deal with reality, so they just constantly are escaping and constantly living in fantasy so that they don't need to face the reality of what life is, which, like you said, is the lion eating the zebra.
Yeah,
The
and then
truth of it.
what would you make of these? Like we touched on it last week with the gaming and that kind of thing. These people that are living more and more in a fantasy world, like a world which is there but is a fantasy. Like who's to say we're not living in a world that is someone else's fantasy? Like Men in Black, at the end of that, are we not? I can remember it might have even been that one that I was talking about last week, where the guy was like, "Yeah, machines are going to take over," and they were saying, "What if comprehension-wise? What if we were a Mario game to someone else?"
Yeah, so that's what matters, isn't it? Because we put out that episode last week. We spoke a little bit about gaming, and a friend of mine is a professional gamer. So he streams, he gets paid for it, and he plays, well, let's say 10 plus hours a day on games. And I said he said to me, he goes, "Well, to be honest, I'm happy. Like I wake up every day and I enjoy what I do, and I go to bed at night. And I'm being genuine with you. I'm not lying to you. I'm a happy person. And you might say my life is unfulfilled. Like I don't go on holidays really. I don't interact with people. I don't go out, and meet people." He goes, "I meet people online and I talk online and I play my games." He said, "But I'm no less happy than you are going and doing whatever it is you do." And I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Is what we might perceive as, you could call it a waste of time. For him, it's just how he spends his time, and he gets a lot of fulfillment from it. Whereas you would not get the same fulfillment from the same activity. But I guarantee, if you took him to, let's say, your bonsai garden, he wouldn't appreciate or enjoy it in the least. He's just not programmed that way, not wired that way.
I've just written down something for next week because I know I've been bringing a lot of the questions up. I think it's just the way my brain works. I have to write things down. I have to get it out. Otherwise, I suppose it will just make my head blow and I'll go like falling down and go shoot someone or something. Yeah. So I've written something
gets back to killing someone with you.
I'm sure in a previous life I had to, or unleash hell
out your system at some
point. I'm going there. Twitching. Getting back to this whole situation that we're living in, did I ask last week, have you found any lockdown treasures yet? Did I ask that last week?
No. I'm assuming you mean, I don't know what you mean.
In brackets, I've written a switch of perspective on things, so psychological, or just something a bit more simple. Have you found, like I think I did say last week, like someone has found cooking or those kind of things? Have you found have any lockdown treasures come up, or is there things like, if I had to say right now, if I had to list a few things that the lockdown, I'm trying to be positive about the lockdown, I suppose, that have brought me, is time with the girls, which they should have been at school anyway, but that's been a treasure. But it's been difficult because it's not like a holiday. It's not like, because you've been having to deal with a day. But nonetheless, just interaction more with the girls has been a treasure. Time spent with C, like doing RDR, for instance, taking the engine out of the camper, which still hasn't gone back in yet. Time with, I suppose just time has been a bit of a treasure during this, doing things that you like to be able to do a bit more. And I know a few people have said that they're home earlier from work, or they're working from home and those sort of things. For you, any treasures, or is it all just shit?
No, it's not even shit, to be honest. I think sometimes I can come across as being very negative about it. But it's normally just if I'm around people who I trust and feel comfortable with, they're the few people who I'll get the few bits off of my chest that are on there. Because most of the time I'm kind of with my student base and with a lot of my family, I put on the smiling face and I'm always the light of positivity. And that is who I am, and I'm happy to do it. But there's a few people, and you're one of the people who I feel comfortable just letting some of the shit out. Authentic self. I let it get out, and then it's a moment. But I know sometimes Anne says it to me. She's like, "Stop moaning, Az." I'm like, "Sorry, I'm done. I've got it off my chest." Time is definitely, I think, the commodity that everyone's been given more of. So you might be shorter on money, you might be shorter on all these other things, toilet roll, but we've definitely all been gifted a bit more time, unless you're a key worker, in which case then you have no time at all.
And hats off to those people.
Big hats off, big time. But yeah, so definitely the time. And I guess here's the kicker. It's what you choose to do with it, isn't it? Because let's say you got 10 people and they've got the whole day now. You can spend the whole day and not really appreciate or use that time, or you can use every single hour of it, not necessarily productively, but like you said, to do the things you enjoy and the things that bring you joy. And I think that's the treasures of this, is if you can take advantage of what it gives you, which is a really nice big chunk of your time back, whether it just be your commute time. Because I know a lot of people who work from home and they're still doing a 9 to 5, but your 9 to 5 now starts at 9 and not at 7 a.m. getting up to get dressed, get on the trains, and it finishes at 5. You close the laptop and you're home. So I think that's the big thing. You've got your time, and it's where you choose to put it and put your energy. And that's the real thing. If we're going to focus on it, is you're going to put it into your loved ones, aren't you? You're going to put it into your family and those you care about, because they're the ones who deserve your time.
Yeah, I've always found it a little bit crazy, actually, because I come from a family where my dad worked for himself. My mum was a traditional stay-at-home mum, and I've always found it interesting to think that the majority of people spend the majority of their time with other people than their family. I probably spend the majority of my time on my own, but I like myself. Or with my dog, with Bruce. But yeah, to think that, and the majority of those people are spending it with time with people that they don't enjoy spending time with, or enjoy spending the time that they're doing work, even if it's with people they still like as well. And it's like, to me, that's just like a head messer. Like, you're going to spend,
isn't it?
Yeah, you're going to spend the majority of your time working for someone, doing something you don't want to do with people you don't want to be with. It's like, what?
Yeah. Well, because then all the stuff that's truly precious, your time off, which is your weekends, and your family, they become the small part of your day, and they become like the relief from what your life is. And that's just so the wrong way round, isn't it? Like, I can deal with a real tough weekend, and I know you can too. So let's say, like, we're both in the martial arts. Let's say it's a long tournament and you're going to spend a whole day in a sports hall and you're going to be shouted at and you're going to have all this stuff go wrong and all the rest of it. That's not really a problem, because the majority of your week is spent doing what you love, with who you love, how you love. And then you can handle it. You can handle a rough weekend. But to have 80% of your time be spent on something that you can't stand, with people you can't stand, in a place you can't stand, that to me doesn't sit right. I just don't understand how people can do that for years, work like that for, and then that's the thing, isn't it? Then you get this whole thing of retirement, where then you can enjoy your life, like suffer through your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and then when you start becoming a bit decrepit, then you can start enjoying life and enjoying your family and enjoying time at home. It's not right, is it?
I worked for a graphic company, a guy actually, for a few years coming out of school, and there was a guy there, Alan, I believe his name was, lovely guy, you know, really nice guy, and he commuted something. I'm probably, you know, the fish was probably this big, but he commuted, let's say, 4 hours a day, you know, 2 hours there, 2 hours back to get to work, as in. You know, he was committed to his work. He'd worked all his life. And every time, like he used to work this press or this machine, and I used to staple bits of paper together or whatever. Okay, so he'd be walking around and we'd every now and then spend a bit of time in the same room. Every time I was in the same room with him, he'd talk about his retirement. He was like, let's say he was 58 and he was retiring at 60. He was like, I can't wait till I'm 60. I've saved all of my money. He wasn't boasting or anything like that. He's like, I've worked my socks off. His whole drive of existence was for his retirement. He's like, basically, I'm just gonna sit back and chill. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go there. He had it all planned out, mapped out. I stopped working. I think it was 6 months or something before he's about to retire. Draws a picture of it. He got a cancer or whatever and died. And no. I remember, like, because Guy told us, oh, you know, that Alan passed. And it was like, wow. It's like, yeah.
That's so messed up.
Yeah, literally for a year, I had this guy talking about what he's going to do and everything else. And then that happened. You're like, man, life's too short, isn't it?
Life is too short. Like, and even if he made it to retirement, what? Let's say he was a really healthy, in shape guy. 20, 30 years? Like, you've lived 50, you lived 60, and now you're going to enjoy it. And this is the other thing that he said it. And that's what a lot of them say. I'm going to just chill. I'm just going to sit back on a beach and do nothing. That's your idea of a good time. Just sitting there and I'd go insane. Go away for a week, do it for a week. I love it. 2 weeks, probably. And then I'm itching to get up and do something. But the idea of just, you know, traveling around doing absolute nothing for 20 years, can't imagine anything worse, to be quite honest.
No.
But I guess if you've been doing nothing but the thing you hate for 60 years,
all you want to do is stop.
All you want to do is stop. And then, yeah, like you said, you kick the bucket and you don't do any of it. And God knows what's on the other side for you.
Did he find the true meaning of it all?
And turned into petals.
Nature's hands made him disappear.
He just became one with the universe at that point, and that's it. He found the solution for life.
Yeah, because that's what they say with the Mayans, don't they? You know, all of these, the Egyptians and that, all these civilizations that disappeared, or one of them say that they found the meaning and just one day disappeared.
Yeah, well, I think that we were talking the other week about the whole spirituality thing. And I think the closest thing I get to spiritual in that sense is believing that if we do keep coming back, and if there is anything like reincarnation, it's just you keep coming back until you figure it out. And then once you figure it out, then you get to go to the next place. It's almost like a game. You got to play this level over and over and over again until you get it right and you figure out what it's all about, whatever that is. And then you get to go to the next place and you get to figure out whatever the next thing is.
My perspective is on that is knowing that you're dead.
Dead already, or going to
as
die
in when you die?
Ah.
My perspective is that when you die, if you don't know you're dead, you come back round until you've worked it out that you are.
Yeah, I like that. I can vibe with that. Interesting.
Should we leave that to ponder? I'm gonna go kill someone.
I feel like that's where it needs to be. That's where you got to just drop the microphone and just walk away from it. Well, it's been good.
Yeah,
it's been done. People will share. People.
I feel like I've chewed a lot today. I feel like satisfied in my soul belly.
Where is your soul belly? Last question.
Soul belly. God, Jesus, you're throwing them out there today.
Yeah, well, you got me last week, and I was like,
So I've got one for you next week, man. I've got one written here, and it's gonna be like,
you're gonna blow my mind.
Yeah, I've got something else written. I wanted to be a bit controversial, or I wanted to get some like keyboard warriors or something involved. But we'll leave it to next week. No, I just wanna get like some engagement going. Okay.
Controversy.
Yeah, but we probably won't be controversial. We'll probably go fairies.
Well, my mum doesn't like it, so we that's a start.
We need to have your mum on as a guest.
100%.
Okay.
It'll be organized if she can ever figure out how a webcam works.
Oh yeah, because she couldn't be with you, could she?
Exactly. Boom. Well, dude, I'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah. Peace out.
Peace out, everyone.